Okay. All right. Hey guys. So welcome to our second Tempest Cup video. In this one, we're going to do something a little bit different. So in this cup, more than any other cup we've had so far, it's really important to be able to create your team based on what your opponent has. So you need to think on the fly, analyze their weaknesses and strengths, and try to build your team around that. And that's because almost everything in this cup has hard counters. You have, your Tropius with a quad ice weakness, Altaria with the same, Charizard against rock. So just with everything having something a hard counter it like that, there's not a whole lot of like completely safe options. So yeah, it's just going to be really important to be able to think and create your teams based on what your opponent has.
And the best way to learn is to just do it. So Steele and I both decided we would pick a team of 6, send that information to the other person, and then we did a best of 5. Just like it in a real tournament, 5 instead of 3 for a little more content.
Mm-hmm.
Thought it was good. We're going to go through, give a little bit of an explanation as to why we picked our team of 6, and then go through our battles, kind of talk it out amongst ourselves, what we were thinking, what we were expecting the other person to do, things like that.
Yep. So we'll go ahead and start with our teams. So my team is 6. I decided to go with Tropius, Charizard, Lantern, Quagsire, Skarmory, and Glalie. So Tropius, if you have access to it, is a pretty obvious choice. Super bulky, even with his ice weakness, he's just going to tank a lot of things, do a ton of damage with Razor Leaf, and then has Leaf Blade to make up for Razor Leaf's low energy gain. So Charizard is kind of a risky one in this cup with all the water and possible rock type attacks, but he counters all the ice stuff. He counters Tropius, Skarmory, Steelix. He definitely has his use. Lantern is just a good overall pick. He's bulky, has an electric move, so that's going to help you a lot in this cup. The other electric types are a little bit less safe because of the abundance of ground and possibly fire and stuff. So having an electric type on a water type Pokemon is pretty good. Quagsire, he's here because he has access to Stone Edge and Earthquake, so that's a solid move set. Mud Slap will charge it up really fast, so just good in general. Skarmory, we remember from Boulder Cup, is just a beast, really tanky, not a whole lot of hard counters, and just has a lot of good matchups. And then Glalie is my last one. Chose a pure ice attacker. You do want some ice in this cup, obviously, so he's got a good ice fast move, Avalanche, which is a really, really good move, and then Gyro Ball, which will help you against the other ice types. So.
My 6, a few of these repeat, you'll notice. First was Skarmory. Mine is a lot of to be there for a Skarmory counter because it walls Skarmory pretty well. Glalie, similar things, but just good damage with ice, like Stanley was saying, and Avalanche. Lantern, again, nice and tanky, good water gun and coverage with water and electric type attacks. Then here's where we start to be different. I don't have a Tropius, so I have an Abomasnow because I think it's very important to have at least one Razor Leaf on your team. I think having one in your 6 at least makes the other person think about it. I'm sure Stanley had to really think about whether he wanted to bring that Quagsire or not because he saw, okay, there is a Razor Leaf. If I don't have that Razor Leaf, it's just an easy, like, oh yeah, he doesn't have anything to threaten my Tropius, or my Quagsire, sorry, so sure, why not?
Yep.
Then I had Magneton, which I like a lot. Magna Bomb is just really quick charging and can do some pretty solid damage, even as you'll see to things like Skarmory that are not taking, they're neutral to it.
Skarmory resisted it.
So yeah, even resisted, it can still do nice chunks of damage.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally Altaria, which again, Dragon Breath's just doing great neutral damage to a bunch of stuff. Solid Pokemon.
Mm-hmm. All right, so for the first matchup, I look at Calvin's team, and right off the bat, I see 4 things weak to fire. So definitely Charizard is going to be a good option here. But I know Calvin, I know he's going to see that, and probably be prepared for that Charizard. So I still decided to take it in my first team and kind of build a team around it. I see that he doesn't have a rock attacker, but he does have Lantern. So I take Charizard, I take Skarmory just as a safe lead, and also Glalie. So just good type coverage there. If he has his Lantern in, then Skarmory or Glalie should be able to handle it okay, or at least have a fairly neutral matchup. So that's what I went with the first team.
Looking at Stanley's team, I also immediately realized that 4 of my things were weak to Charizard. So making my first team, I was mostly concerned with Charizard and Tropius. So I took Altaria, Skarmory, and Lantern. So Altaria and Skarmory both have good matchups against Tropius, and Altaria and Lantern both have good matchups against Charizard, was kind of my thinking, and then was hoping I'd be able to handle whatever his third thing was with whatever I had left over. Kind of threw me a little bit because he didn't bring Tropius in his first match, as you'll see.
Yep, and that was the other thing. I figured he was going to prepare for Tropius, so I decided not to bring Tropius in that first one. So, all right.
It worked. So, getting into our first match, I lead Altaria, he leads Skarmory. Now, I'm pretty sure that Skarmory wins this, especially if it has Wing Attack. That is the case. If Skarmory has Steel Wing, Altaria has more options to win, but his has Wing Attack. So I was pretty sure I wasn't supposed to win this, but I was nervous about switching, and I was pretty sure he had strong counters. I was expecting Tropius and Charizard, so I was hoping maybe I could pull something out.
I think we both understood this was a neutral matchup and just kind of played it out and didn't want to waste the switch. So.
Yep. So he gets it off first, and I'm like, well, decide Skarmory. Give me a little bit quicker charge moves to be able to charge up if I have to switch out. He sends in Charizard, and I don't want that, so I switch. He gets the switch advantage.
Go for a Blast Burn just to see what it does. You can see it's got really high base damage and not very effective. Still takes out a good chunk.
Yeah. Oh yeah, easily a quarter of his health.
And then the Glalie switch here was just to try to get a slightly more neutral matchup. In my video cut out here, so we'll have to watch Calvin's, but yeah.
I'm trying to keep my Lantern alive because I don't want to have to. I'm hoping I can get a few more water guns off onto his Charizard, but that's not gonna happen. I'm in a pretty bad spot here.
So Charizard comes back in, and I have a shield still, so pretty much it's over at this point.
Yep, that's GG.
Going into the second battle here, I expect the Lantern again because that's his best counter for the Charizard. So I bring in my Tropius as a good counter to his Lantern, and then I bring Charizard again because it's going to have at least one good matchup against his team, since 4 of his things are weak to fire. And then my last pick is my own Lantern, just to kind of round out the coverage.
So I always hate starting 0-1. I feel like it puts a lot more pressure on. But I was trying to stick with my initial plan with having some good coverage for Tropius and Charizard. So I kept my Altaria in there to fight Charizard because it would resist his fire moves pretty well. And then I included Glalie this time for Tropius, and I moved Lantern to my lead. That way my 2 kind of counters for the things I was expecting were buried and weren't going to go away right at the start, like last time. So our second battle starting here, and we have a mirror match to begin with. For the most part, we're going to kind of just play this out and see how it goes. Kind of similar to the last one, see who gets the charge move advantage.
Now I have my Tropius here, but switching in is kind of risky because he could switch to a counter, and I assume he has one. So I just leave the Lantern in. I figure if I can take it out with my own Lantern, then that's his main Charizard counter down. So.
And here I use my shield, and then I have a Thunderbolt charged up, and then I'm going to switch to Altaria, which I know can spam the Dragon Breath and should be able to take him out pretty quickly, which it does. And again, I'm trying to use Altaria to counter Charizard, which he sends in, so I'm pretty happy. I use my charge move, and about this time, I'm starting to wonder how much damage a Dragon Claw will deal as he starts to use a charge move.
Yeah.
It's not a huge damaged move, so I decided be a little risky and take it, and I'm rewarded. It's not that bad. I think we both were expecting it to do actually a little bit more.
Yeah, neither of us had seen this matchup before.
So I'm pretty happy because I can trade shields with him. I think I actually go 1 for his 2, and then I still am able to knock him out first. Even better, I have enough energy moved up for a Sky attack, and his Tropius does not have any shields, so it's going to be a huge chunk, as you see. Now, as my Altaria goes down, I know I've got a Thunderbolt on my Lantern, but I'm deciding my Glalie probably has a better chance anyway, so I send that in and I'm able to take it out with a few ice attacks. Alright, so going into prep for the third match, I look at what Stanley's been using and what I've been using. I see, okay, Stanley's used a Charizard twice in a row. I've used an Altaria twice in a row. So at this point I'm thinking, okay, he'll probably use a Glalie to use the Altaria, or to counter the Altaria I've been bringing. And I'm kind of guessing he's going to mix it up a little bit, so I don't think he's going to bring that Charizard anymore. So it's a little risky, but I decide to take a Magneton because I don't think his Charizard's going to show up. And then I go Glalie and Skarmory. Glalie, I still want the Ice move availability, and Skarmory's just pretty good at a number of different things. I'm predicting his Glalie to counter my Altaria. I think he's going to use Skarmory because, like me, we both think it's a pretty good generalist. And Tropius, just because it's a solid Pokemon with that Razor Leaf.
Yep, so my prep for the third battle, basically Calvin predicted everything. So my team was literally what he thought I was going to bring.
I'm psychic.
I don't bring the Charizard. At this point I know he's prepared for it. He's kind of expecting it. So I think, okay, maybe I'll trick him and not bring it this time. And then, like he said, I noticed the Altaria both times, so I bring the Glalie. And then Skarmory just as a good general, and Tropius for the same reason, just both to do good general damage and be tanky. So he completely predicted it, and it's reflected in the match. So, alright, so third matchup here. We have my Skarmory into his Magneton. Obviously, he's going to be doing super effective damage with his Electric Fast move, so not a great matchup for me, but I decided to leave it in, try to get a charge move off, either get some damage off or get a shield, and he doesn't shield. I take this one. I know it's going to be a Magnet Bomb because he hasn't had enough time to charge up the Zap Cannon, so I don't have a great choice here as far as a switch, so I go for the Tropius. But that's risky since now I'm now locked in, and he can bring in his Glalie, so I lose this pretty badly here. Tropius is pretty much wasted, but switching in my other Pokemon wouldn't have been great either, so didn't have a good option really.
I shield this just because I have a full Avalanche that I want to get off on whatever his last Pokemon is. Mm-hmm. And because it's a Glalie, I try a Gyro Ball. I think I probably should have just... Oh, no. Yeah, for the super effective is what I was going for. And then I'm able to even squeeze in another Avalanche, which I'm really happy about.
Mm-hmm.
Forgot my typing there for a moment.
Brings the Magneton back out. I have to shield this because it's super effective and I know that'll kill me. Finish it off with an Avalanche, and then able to get one Avalanche here off on the Skarmory, but I'm just too low health.
Yep.
So
the threat of Magneton charging the Magnet Bomb so quickly there did a lot of work because he had to use his charge move and expend his energy to ensure that the Magneton fainted, meaning he didn't have as much saved up for my last Pokemon. So prepping for Battle 4, I'm thinking, okay, if I was Stanley and I just lost 2 in a row, I'd like panic a little bit, kind of similar to when I started 0-1, and I feel like if that happens, one of two things are going to happen. You're either going to go crazy risky to try to switch things up and get a win, or you're going to go a little safer and back to more comfortable things, which is what I ended up deciding I thought Stanley was going to do. So I looked at what he did in his first match when he beat me, and he had a Skarmory, Glalie, Charizard back then. So I'm looking and going, okay, Skarmory and Lantern are pretty just general picks. And I think he's still going to be looking at me and seeing that Charizard's good against 4 of my 6 again. So I think that's going to be in there. Those are the 3 I think he's going to use. Also, being up 2-1 in the series now, I decide I can be maybe a little riskier, and I decide to put in my Abomasnow, because I'm thinking Lantern's a safe lead, and he already led with Skarmory, so he's going to switch a little bit. So I'm predicting my Abomasnow will go into his Lantern pretty well. And then I bring Altaria again for the Charizard, which we found out worked pretty well, and my Lantern, which is also just generally pretty good, and will do fine into Skarmory.
So we see here that Calvin and I battle way too much, and Calvin knows me really well. So basically, I kind of reset here. Just kind of decided to start over in a way with choosing my three, just kind of disregarding what had happened so far. So I go with the Lantern lead. Like Calvin said, it's just a pretty safe general pick. I do kind of expect the Abomasnow. I haven't seen it at this point, so I do bring Charizard. I figure, like I said earlier, Charizard's going to have at least one good matchup, no matter what he brings. So Charizard's good, and then the Skarmory again, just as another safe general pick. So I figured this was a pretty safe team. It should do okay.
Also, I did at least consider that he would go the riskier route and switch his team up a lot, and to me that meant he would use his Quagsire for the first time. But we literally just had a discussion about who didn't love Quagsire, so I didn't think that was going to happen.
Right.
Alright, so here we go, Battle 4, and I am immediately happy to see that I predicted correctly his lead, and doing nice chunks of damage with Razor Leaf. He switches into his Charizard, so I will immediately get my quad weak Abomasnow out of there for Altaria. Like we saw earlier, the Dragon Claw doesn't do too much damage, so I'll just take it and get a Sky Attack charged up. He has to shield, feeling pretty good. I match his shield. A little bit of lag there, but that's okay. I use my last shield, and then I'm able to not knock him out before he gets the last one off. But again, it's so low, and I know that his Lantern is also quite low, or maybe around half. Lantern into Skarmory isn't bad at all. Thunderbolt will be super effective, and the Water Gun isn't doing bad damage either. He uses his last shield, and I'm still feeling okay. The Sky Attacks from Skarmory don't do a whole lot to Lantern just because it's beefy. So
Resisted.
And resisted, right. So then once he switches, I'm able to just counter switch. The Hydro Pump does do quite a bit of damage, but as you can see, I've now got my move charged up. Not a ton of damage, but I'm able to come back in with my Thunderbolt ready to go. That's the match.
Alright, so the last match, obviously, I realize at this point Calvin is basically predicting everything, so I try to do something a little bit more unpredictable, and I start with a Quagsire, which is a risky lead with that 4 times ice weakness or grass weakness, and not very good matchups against a few of his things, but I go for it. And I take Tropius as just a good beefy Pokemon. I expect the Lantern again, so Tropius is good for that. And then Glalie is my last one, expecting Altaria.
And in this one, I kind of wanted to just go for generally good Pokemon that I like. So putting my Lantern, as you've seen in previous matches, it's one that we both like pretty well. Include Glalie and my Skarmory.
Alright, so this last matchup here had me thinking I should have used Quagsire a lot more, but oh well. So we start off here doing super effective damage with my fast move, and I know that his moves take a long time to charge up, so pretty happy to just sit here and get his shields out. So the Earthquake, and he shields that obviously. Here I thought he might have had a Hydro Pump up, I wasn't sure, so I shielded. It was a Thunderbolt, so it definitely wasn't necessary. But get another Earthquake up here. You can see that this fast attack just charges really fast, even though he has 2 big 1-bar moves. It's not like a Tentacruel where it takes forever. It's not too bad.
And when I switched there, I was hoping I could get him where he'd already had his move locked in, get that sweet spot where he was going to end up using an Earthquake on my Skarmory. I went a little too early, and he's able to just get a bunch of Stone Edges off before I can even get my Sky Attack out.
Yeah, you can see Stone Edge does a good amount of damage to even Skarmory, so. Brings the Lantern back out. I've got the Earthquake ready to go, and he has no shields, so
And
pretty
as we
easy.
learned the other day, Earthquake absolutely destroys Lantern.
Yep. So get the Stone Edge off on the Glalie here. Nice super effective damage. But it does take me out, so.
Darn, 1 for almost 3.
So shield that just because, and then finish it off.
So I think this video really helps to show how Quagsire can kind of just wreck if it gets the right matchup.
Yeah, you can see he didn't have a Razor Leafer there, and that hurt quite a bit.
Yeah, it's just something that I don't know that I even would have included Obama Snow in my 6, but I wanted to have at least something to dissuade the Mud Boys, and I didn't use it a whole lot, and that last time it really bit me.
So thank you for watching our video. Hopefully this was helpful to you guys. You can really see how important it is to analyze your opponent's team, and you can really see how deep it can get. I mean, I was just going base level. I think Calvin's going to do this, but Calvin's more like, okay, I think he's going to think I'm going to do this, and so there's really a lot of depth to it. And so he out-predicted me, and that's why he won more of the matches. But I think it was a really fun learning experience. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it too.
Stanley also wants to say that he thinks we might continue this and do this again with a larger group of people. It's something we're thinking about. Let us know if it's something you've tried and enjoyed or something you've learned from. We definitely think we learned from it. Hope you do too.
Yep, thanks.